Hi everyone. This is Kriti Mehra here from upGrad. I am the program director for the product management program. Thank you so much for joining. Um, uh, the topic of today is really targeted to all you techies out there who have worked on the tech side, have worked closely with the product manager, and you guys are now ready to don the hat of a product manager yourself. You all have thought about how a feature should develop, how a product should, a roadmap should develop, and really you all are now ready to become a PM. Or how should really you get to that position of becoming a product manager. So just to set the context, what is the role of a product manager? The product manager, in a very simplistic way, is really the bridge between three main areas. Is engineers such as yourself who code on the for the product. Then there are designers, which include UX designers and UI designers who create the design for the product. And of course, there's business, which is in charge of getting revenue. Now, in a B2C company, business might be somebody such as a category manager or a marketing manager, whereas in a B2B company, it's really the B2B sales team that is the business. So the PM here has to bridge the gap between all these three, has to be able to talk to the engineer, to the designer, and to the business in their own language. And that really is the challenge for someone from a technology background to move towards a PM role. A lot of times you will hear that PM is the mini CEO of the product, and we'll see why. We have some thoughts from who's head of consumers of Grofers, who talks about that a lot of products are being built in India, and there is definitely a need in the market to convert those requirements, those ideas into products. Similarly, Sanket, who's a program manager for Google Maps at Google, talks about product manager is at a great juncture in India. It is actually a nascent career opportunity, only 5 to 7 years old, and it is going to explore the opportunities that will be available. Moving forward, how is a product actually built? Since be from you all would have that experience hands-on on how a product is developed. So initially there is a concept stage where you really have just an idea in mind, and you have to go and do some of the idea by various means such as surveys, talking to users, etc., and then analyze that data to validate whether your initial hypothesis was right or not. Step then becomes that once you've validated your idea at a conceptual stage, you start looking into the feasibility of it, as in how would you go about designing it, how what is the business viability of that idea. Then part 3 is really around development, which you all would be mostly well versed with, which involves implementation, the integration, and communicating across a lot of teams, but primarily across the tech and quality assurance or QA teams. And finally, it comes to the launch, where a handover happens to the release manager, where you release the feature, and then the success of the feature is looked at in terms of various metrics, how many users use the feature, etc. Now, typically, from what we have observed, developers would be very strong in the area of development, which involves implementation, integration, and the tech architecture, but they might find themselves lacking in the other areas. And the lacking is not really because of any other reason, but just exposure. On a daily basis, y'all are getting exposure more to shipping out code. So there are not as many opportunities to really validate that idea for a feature that you got. Think about how you would go around designing that feature. How would you really get feedback from a user on that feature, and then if that feature were to go live, how would you validate whether it was successful or not? So uh, on the other end of the spectrum, what do companies look for while hiring product managers? We have spoken to a lot of companies who are in our industry network, and we'll go over that in a bit. But typically, the number one requirement that we have got from product heads is we need product managers who have gone through at least 1 or 2 product cycles. And by product cycle, we mean that entire life cycle that we displayed on the last screen. It has to be someone who can synthesize learnings along the product cycle. So you might be on the last stage of just releasing a feature, but some learning from a prior feature you can bring in to improve a particular feature. So that really will be around how do you synthesize learnings across design, across user research, across analytics. He or she has to be someone who can at the same time think of the big picture of how the product will evolve, what should go in the first minimum viable product, and what should the next release have. And he or she should also be able to go into details, as in what will be the user journey for making a payment in 2 clicks. Those are the kind of details that a PM should be able to go into. And finally, again, paraphrasing somewhat of the points from before, is that he or she should be able to anticipate future requirements based on today. So if I'm building a feature today, I should at the same time be able to think what will this what will be the implication of this feature 2 or 3 releases later. That is going to really feed into the roadmap, and also into the decision whether I should really build this feature, whether I should invest the time of my design and tech team or not. But that was a wish list of what the industry is looking for. But really, at this point, is what stage is today's product ecosystem? Some testimonials based on our user research with actual product heads from GoIbibo, Myntra, Folenco, and nearby brought around a lot of insights. Some of which are, one of the product head mentions that, you know what, I have come across PMs who are business PMs, there are PMs who are tech PMs, there are some who are design PMs, but I'm not really finding those PMs who have a mixture of all 3, who have a holistic perspective across these 3, and that is really the challenge I face when I'm hiring for PMs. They all acknowledge that there isn't a structured program, at least in India, to address this at the moment. A lot of them have come back from the Silicon Valley, and what happens in the Silicon Valley is that the tech companies have these APM programs, and developers or designers join at APM level and then grow through the company. But that ecosystem does not exist in India, and that really mandates a need for a structured program where someone who has all the intellect to be a PM needs the exposure of an entire product cycle. A definite pattern that we observed was that a perspective on design was missing. And like I mentioned, very few PMs have gone through the entire product cycle. So upGrad really set out to solve this problem of product management ecosystem, where there is a lot of talent, but the talent just needs more exposure, needs mentoring, and a proper framework in which product management should be done. We spoke to industry, and based on that, we came up with 4 main in a way, features for this product, which is the product management program. The first one is that you're going to be learning from the best in class, the best in class in terms of students, but also in terms of teachers, where your teachers are going to be people who have delivered, launched successful products in India and in the Silicon Valley. You're going to be learning the framework right from conceptualization to design to building and to shipping. Something that we thought was immensely required was exclusive one-on-one mentoring. So the typical ecosystem at this point in terms of mentoring is that you see time from a senior product leader, you might meet them at a meetup, and you might get some airtime with them, which is immensely useful. But as you're trying to get into a product management journey, you need a feedback cycle at regular intervals of time. So for instance, if you learned about doing user research and you discussed it with your mentor and you went and applied it, you need to have a feedback cycle where you can come back to your mentor and again talk about your learnings, about what didn't you get, about how do they do it in their company. And this exclusive mentoring is at this point lacking in a structured format in the industry. upGrad has made it a mandate that through this program, we are going to connect the industry to the students in the form of one-on-one mentoring. Now, what will this mentoring involve? It will be 2 30-minute sessions, which is going to be spread across a month, and it will be regularly over a period of 5 months during the course of the program. The idea again is that we need regular feedback, and the mentor can observe your growth as a product manager. We'll come over why, in what other ways is this mentoring useful, but something that I really want to bring to the top at this point is this exclusive one-on-one mentoring with top product heads is also an excellent opportunity for you to create a connect, which could then turn into a job opportunity. But obviously that depends on the amount of rigor that you put into the course, and the amount of product thinking that you depict to your mentor during the 5 months. You get hands-on industry experience without a doubt, where our philosophy is that we really want to take the resume out from the product management hiring, and we want to take it more towards a product portfolio based hiring. So where your product portfolio across the product life cycle is your resume. So you will be working on 5 live industry challenges, and when we mention live, it really means that these are actual problems that the products companies have faced in the past or are currently facing. These are problems given by product heads of these companies that get your students to give me their perspective on how should I solve this product problem. And finally, the entire thing also boils down to employment. For those of you who are looking to actively move to a product management career, dedicated employment support. And now we'll go into the curriculum, which is the PM role, deep diving into product management, where we are going to understand the market and the user. This involves understanding the market at a high level, like I mentioned, and also at a user level, because a product manager's main job is to understand what is the problem that you're solving. And throughout the journey of the product management cycle, you have to always keep in mind whether the feature you're currently building is solving that problem or not. After understanding the market and user, next is product design. This is going to go a lot into user-centered design, prototyping, usability, user-based validation, expert and data-driven design validation. And the idea here is to really go into what a PM needs to know in design. And this would be really pertinent for someone from the tech background. The reason being that there are not many courses out there, at least in India, that go into the depths of design. But at the same time, a product manager needs to know at a level that he can have an intelligent and useful discussion with a UX designer or a UI designer as well. Post that, we go into 4 weeks of product planning and deployment, where we talk about the best practices of Scrum and Scrum-based product management. How do you do sprint planning? How do you build a backlog? And how do you build a product requirement document? So this was typically, by now, by total of 9 weeks, you are ready to work with designers and developers. Now is the part where the business part comes, where you need to understand what are the metrics that you should be measuring whenever you create a product, and how do you go about measuring that. So this will involve A/B testing, multivariate testing, cohort analysis, and all of that. Again, there are some special topics based on the current Indian product ecosystem. These are topics that a PM should know, but they are not really covered anywhere. And we thought that it will be really useful if we bring all that knowledge directly to the upGrad PM program participant. This is around, firstly, growth hacking, then something around e-commerce, that what should you really know to manage the life cycle of an online user. Something about APIs, because there are a lot of non-tech product managers who don't have that much experience in understanding of APIs, and we'll bring something around that. And also there are a lot of opportunities now with the blooming fintech background, fintech industry. So what should you know about payments? And finally, before we go into synthesizing our learnings, we will be talking about how should a product manager be effective. Because all said and done, you might have the best hard skills that a PM should have, but your success as a PM is going to be defined by how well you do on soft skills. So this could be some, this covers things like what are typical process hacks for PMs? How should they effectively work with tech teams, design teams? How should they present to senior management and others? From our research with a lot of product heads, they actually gave a lot of weightage to the soft skills over the hard skills, because they were okay if someone was a 6 on 10 on the hard skills, but the soft skills was they had to be a 9 on 10 or a 10 on 10 in their opinion. And finally, we will synthesize all our learnings across all the weeks in terms of projects. A point that I want to bring out is that across all of the entire curriculum, you will have small exercises and mini projects across. So for instance, in understanding the user, there might be a project around go and do the usability. You are PM that is going to join a startup soon, and at the end of 1 week, you have to present the usability audit of the web and mobile app and suggest some improvements. That's one example of a project at the user research point, and there'll be other such projects at each step. Now, projects is going to take a lot of time, and you might wonder whether it is all worth it or not. So to bring across that point, we are going to take you through how do you transition to a PM role in a traditional scenario. So traditionally, you will have your resume, which might be largely around tech, or probably some of y'all are product managers, but it will be driven a lot by your previous experience. So let's say if you're working at a small startup and you want to work in a really big company, they will look at what your previous experience was, whether you have had the experience on working on big products or not. So traditionally, you will send your resume via LinkedIn, Monster.com, Naukri.com. You will get shortlisted, but the lack of product portfolio or the lack of actual hands-on experience in building, designing, and shipping products, and then managing live products will be an inhibitor in moving to a PM role. Also, the lack of PM experience will make it difficult to get up to the top of the stack of resumes. So with upGrad, your transition will smoothen, primarily because it is around the project plus resume. So as I mentioned, you're going to be doing a project at each step of the curriculum, so as to build a whole product management portfolio. And there will be a lot of resume reviews that will be done by actual current PMs and senior PMs. And then this will be sent to various companies who are in upGrad's industry network. Now, to give an example of how this will work, for instance, we have a number of travel-related companies in our upGrad industry network. And so if there is a project around, give a suggestion to a travel company on how they should bring in the Airbnb model to their company. How should they start selling in an Airbnb format of leasing out your house or your room to Indian customers? Then your approach in solving that problem will then be shared with various travel companies, so that they can see how you think, so that they are not really dependent only on what you have done in the past. By the way, that problem statement was actually given by one of our panelists, who is the head of products at GoIBibo, and he will be taking the product analytics portion. So apart from that, what are the various networking opportunities that you will get with upGrad? The first one is, we mentioned, dedicated one-on-one mentoring. There are going to be offline meetups with industry experts. We held one on 28th of last month at Bangalore, where we had a panel discussion with 5 industry leaders. But with an active batch of students, we are going to have it in each of the Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore, where based on where you are in the curriculum, whether it's user research or design or development, a contextual industry expert will have a meetup of sorts during that time with you. There will be group mentoring sessions. These are typically done online on a weekend. And also, if there is a particular company or contact that you're interested in, they might already be part of the upGrad industry network, and so we can always connect you to that. So apart from the product portfolio, the networking opportunity becomes really important, because that's how you sort of will be able to get your candidature ahead from others. So I keep speaking about these industry partners who are there. So like I mentioned, Ankur from GoIBibo, we have Akshay from Nearby, Anshumani from Practo, Tathagat, who's a agile leader of the year 2015. We have Vishwesh, who was working with Comply that got acquired by Microsoft. We have Saurabh, who's the AVP products at Paytm and will be teaching e-commerce. By the way, we also have a webinar with him next Wednesday, so do tune into that. We have Prateek, who will be talking about analytics and growth hacking. We have Ashwin, who's also one of our mentors and is actively looking for people to join his team. We have Neena, who's a director of product management at Ola. Previously at Google, she was working at Google. And we have the growth head at Times Internet, Dinesh. These are some of the industry partners. Based on the curriculum, we have a whole lot more. And our partners, like I mentioned, have worked across the top product companies in India, across small and big startups. And these are typically companies that are looking to hire actively that we have been speaking to. Just to take you quickly over how do we collaborate with the industry. We have been in touch with them through the development of the program at various stages. First is the syllabus design, where our syllabus has been checked and vetted by each panelist on our upGrad industry network. They will be lecturing on various topics of their interest and based on which company they come from. They will be giving industry projects. So for instance, the Airbnb one was something given by the head of products at GoIbigo. And they will also be doing one-on-one mentoring for half an hour every fortnight over a period of 5 months. So how would your learning experience be like? I talked about lectures, I talked about projects, I talked about mentoring. So it's important that before you consider the program, you look at what is the time commitment that you will need. For the initial 3 months, it's going to be around 2 to 3 hours of content per week. You are going to have to work hands-on on projects somewhere between 4 to 5 hours per week. This may seem a lot, but it's really to get your hands dirty and be really good with design and user research so that you can then synthesize the learnings well at the end of the course. There will be meetups either online or offline for 1 hour per week over the first 3 months, and of course the mentor session. For the last 2 months, again there will be content, 2 to 3 hours of content. The amount of project work might reduce because you would have developed a muscle memory around product management by that time. Again, there will be meetups for 1 hour, and per month there will be 1 hour of mentoring. So totally you could take it anywhere between 6 to 8, 9 hours per week. It really depends on how much time you can allot. The more time that you allow, the better your project portfolio is, and the better it is to get your candidature ahead with companies. The last point also that I missed out was in the last 3 months, last 2 months, we will be having dedicating time for placement support. 1 hour per week. This will really be around your resume, mock interviews, etc. These will be decided based on your preference and availability. Now, that was what upGrad can offer to someone wanting to move from tech to product management. But what is it that upGrad is looking for? upGrad would love to have you a part of the program if you are someone who wants to take ownership of a product, who wants to build a strong design perspective, as in not just a design that you have learned along the way on the job based on the exposure you got, but based on strong fundamentals. Ideally, you should be someone who has a definite opinion on what improvement should be incorporated on the in the product. That is also why that is one of the questions that we have included in our admissions process. and someone who's just excited by the prospect of solving product problems, whether it is their core job or not. So what feature in Uber excites you the most? What is it that they have not done yet that they should be doing? What must-have features should be put in to the Grofers app? If you are someone who thinks about these things on a daily basis, you should definitely consider applying. And of course, goes without saying, our whole philosophy of the program is around building a product portfolio, and hence you should be someone who has the enthusiasm and is willing to put the time to build a product portfolio. So having said that, what's the admission process like? You should first complete your application, fill personal work and education details, answer a short product questionnaire. Post that, we'll be shortlisting you for interviews where you will be talking to the program team, typically a short 15-minute conversation with me or someone from my team. And finally, it goes to payment, where you would be looking at the shortlisted people will be sent an invitation to admission, and you could then seal your spot by paying. One thing that I wanted to mention is that we have rolling admissions here. And again, we are starting with a small introductory batch size of 30 students. So if you are interested, you should definitely apply and seal your spot in the beginning. The link to apply there is given below, and these are some of the coordinates of myself and my team. If you really want to reach out to us with any questions, feel free to. So that's all that I had from my end on what we are doing in this program and what should you expect. I'll now go into the questions that have been coming up. One question is that how does PM can you explain the relevance of PM in a large enterprise, not just startups? Sure. So in a large enterprise, so there are various factors that you should know about how PM differs. Firstly, between startups and large enterprises, in a startup, you're going to be working from the 0 to 1 problem. That is, how do you get the initial stable product out? And in a large company, the feature is already stable. Now you have to look at how do you make that feature successful? How does it get returning users? And how do you increase the number of users that use the feature, as well as the number of times that they use the feature? So in terms of perspective, in a smaller startup, it is a lot about building the initial features, deciding what feature will work, what won't. And at a larger company, it is about a stable feature or a new feature, but how do you get scale over there? In a smaller startup, product management will involve a lot of hands-on work. You might have to double up as a QA person, as a designer, as in you won't have to necessarily sit and design per se, but you will have to create wireframes, mock-ups, etc. In a larger company, that is a lot more standardized. There are teams that do user research, that do design, and then they work in tandem with the product manager. Also, another thing that you all should know about is the difference between a B2C company and a B2B company. Now, in a B2C company, you don't really know the user on a daily basis. You have some idea of the user based on your user research, but you are not in touch with them. Whereas in a B2B company, you will be in touch with them in greater detail. If it is an enterprise company, let's say like a Cisco, you have an account manager who's managing the account, and a product manager who works with the sales team to deliver features to them. There's also a B2B SaaS product company such as Salesforce, where again it's on a SaaS model, and you may not be speaking to each customer, but it is not at a scale of a B2C company such as an Uber. Another question is, I am from QA or quality assurance. Am I right for this program? In my view and my experience as a PM in the past, QA has a very good perspective and the ability to deep dive into a product. Into a product feature. They have a very good ability to map the entire user journey. What they need is to get hands-on experience in design and the ability to think of the big picture. So the short answer is yes, people from QA background should definitely look at transitioning into a product management role. Is product marketing covered in the curriculum? Yes, it is covered more in the special topics where we will have go-to-market strategy. But as such, the curriculum is catering a lot to the online businesses, whether they are B2C businesses or B2B SaaS businesses. So in that context, a product manager really caters to from the design to the launch process, and watching how successful a feature is after it has been launched. They do not typically get so much into marketing, but yes, in the big enterprise companies such as Cisco, Microsoft, etc. There are specific roles for product marketing, and those are called product marketing managers, not really product managers. So to the extent that is useful for product managers, we will be including topics such as go-to-market, growth hacking, etc. But it's going to be limited around that. Will you be conducting mock interviews before sending us into the industry? Yes, it will depend on your preference, but we would insist typically to have at least 1 or 2 mock interviews, so that you are also you get prepped on what kind of questions are asked. We can give feedback on where the story needs to be tweaked a bit. So yes, we have allotted time for that, and you should make full use of that. Okay, so looks like that's all. Those are all the questions that they were. Feel free to reach out to me at kriti.mehra@upgrad.com or to my colleague at akshana.gupta@upgrad.com, and we'll be happy to answer any other questions that you might have. Thank you so much for your time. And just as a signing off pointer, we have a webinar with AVP products at Paytm on next Wednesday. So do log into that and hear his thoughts on product management. Thank you.